uh, literally 5 seconds. But he came on as a substitute. It was at Northwich Victoria. He came on as a substitute. It was a goal kick. The goalkeeper kicked the ball in the air, and he went up for this dropping ball with the defender and gave it that one into his face, and he was off. So it was literally 5 seconds, but this was in the second half. So in terms of the game, it wasn't early, but in terms of his appearance, it was within 4 or 5 seconds, and it must have been obvious because nobody complained.
No, I believe the record's held by a United player.
What, Vinnie Jones?
No.
Paul?
I believe it's Keith Gillespie.
Right.
He was coming on as a sub, and he was sent straight off.
I think Vinnie Jones was the quickest from the kickoff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We had a referees meeting where Dave Bassett was the speaker, and David Ellery was the referee, and Bassett and Ellery didn't have the best relationship. And before that game, Dave Bassett said he'd written to the FA saying that David Ellery would caution a Sheffield United player within the first 2 minutes because he got it in for Sheffield United. So ever since that time, I've always wondered if Vinnie Jones was under instruction to commit that foul when he did. But probably never know.
He was just after.
I don't think he needed any encouragement.
No, no.
As
like an all right
much as
for me.
Put your girlfriend down, Ian.
Sorry?
Put your girlfriend down.
right. Before we just kick off, Lol, can we the rest of yours until the end, providing we've got sufficient time? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I know that Chris has got quite a bit about his brother to almost finish off Chris's story. So there's just one person coming now.
Susan.
Susan.
Hello, Susan.
Wrapping him up.
It's what you call a complete package, Paul.
It must be minus 12 in their house.
Be quiet.
So
don't talk to Keith like that.
Right. So we'll get straight on with Chris and his brother Nigel.
Thanks, Keith. Morning, everyone, again. Hi. This is my brother's story in cricket. Really, it started for him in 1972 and it continues to this day. I'm going to try and give you an idea of who he is straight away. So that's my brother and myself. That's a recently taken picture. So anyone guess the ground?
Trent Bridge. Can't really see it.
Trent Bridge.
Okay, no, it's Edgbaston, and it was when England played.
Edgbaston is.
Yeah, when they played their 1000th Test match, we were at that game against India. So that's just an idea of what he looks like now. I'm going to do my brother's story in sort of a couple of chunks. One is what's happening now, what currently is he up to, some brief career highlights, what my dad said about my brother in his autobiography, which is quite illuminating, hopefully interesting. And then if I may, I'm going to finish on a few personal memories because we did play a lot of games. So Nigel Hall was born in 1962 in Derbyshire, Chesterfield in Derbyshire. Curiously, he was a left-handed batsman like myself. There is no left-handed batsman in our family, so we don't know where that came from. And we both bowled right-handed. We're both life members of Retford Cricket Club. And Nigel, to this day, is heavily involved in cricket because he's on the elite umpires panel for the Nottinghamshire Premier League. He's also a Bassetlaw League umpire, and he's also the vice chairman of the Bassetlaw Umpires Association. So as I would say, he's getting his own back now. But seriously, he's a very good umpire, and he's made amazing progress in a short period of time. He is the only player to have played in the Nottinghamshire Premier League and become an umpire on the elite panel. And it carries with him onto the field an enormous amount of respect from the teams that he umpires. They know and understand that Nigel knows the game. I'm going to give you a quick idea of his junior cricket, which was quite amazing. He was, if I show you these series of pictures just by way of illustration, these are pictures of him at primary school and then latterly sort of late primary, early secondary. I mean, his stance and his positioning is astonishing for a boy of that age. He was a very talented young man. In 1972, he was already captain of his school team. There's his little school team, sat on the front there. They played in a League Cup final at Trent Bridge. He was aged 9. So his first match ever at Trent Bridge, he was captain of a team age 9, which is quite something for a young lad. In a little bit later life, he went to the grammar school like his father and myself before him. There he is. And he won the Charlton Trophy for cricket in 1977. The significance of the Charlton Trophy being that Coach Charlton was my dad's coach back in the 40s, and they had that trophy named after him. Whilst he was at the grammar school, he did record the bowling figures of 9 wickets for no runs in a match, and he had 4 balls to bowl at number 11. And off the first of those balls, they scrambled a leg by. The 2 batsmen got mixed up, and Nigel's wicketkeeper ran the man out. So instead of getting 10 wickets, he had to suffer and only get the 9.
Who are you playing?
Who was he playing? I don't know. Some other school. I have no idea.
Centurions.
But I think
Which
they got
grammar school?
2. I think
Which
they
grammar school
managed
was
to
it, Chris?
score 2.
Chris, which grammar school was it?
He went to Retford Grammar School, King
All
Edward
right, sorry, when you
VI
said he
Grammar
was born in
School, like
Chesterfield, I
my
wondered
dad
if
did
it was
and I did.
Chesterfield. Yeah.
In 1977, under 15s, he represented Nottinghamshire under 15s, and they played an international against New Zealand. And my brother was very much involved as a young bowler in that high caliber game at that age group. And then the final thing about that sort of younger period, by 1978, he's obviously playing a lot of cricket, but he's also a member of the Retford under-18 league team. And as you can imagine, with Nigel spearheading things, they won the league championship in 1978. Nigel Hall represented Retford. He represented Milton, both, of course, in the Bassetlaw League. He played for the Bassetlaw League 11, like his dad did. He did play a couple of games for Northamptonshire second team, which I'll give you a couple of details about later on. He played at Clumber Park, and he played in midweek for the EMEB and for the Eric Broadbent's 11, and he basically ran both of those teams very successfully. Just to finish this section, I'll give you a couple of sort of insights into Nigel as a player. Nigel holds the record for the most consecutive league appearances in the Bassetlaw League. It's a 16-year period without missing one single Saturday match. The record that he broke was his dad's, who did 14 years. And I understand that that's also a record in the whole league. I once played with him, by the way, when he got chicken pox, and he still played, but he got changed in his car on the other side of the ground, came in, battered, went back to his car, and he also came into field from his car, and then he went home. But it wasn't very well, but he wasn't going to miss a match.
Social distancing.
There was so correct, large chunks. Because I never had chicken pox. For Retford, as captain, he won all the major trophies that Retford can play for. That's the League Championship, all of the cups in Nottinghamshire, and he won 2 of the trophies in the finals at Trent Bridge. Incredibly, in his career, he scored 45 centuries. I have never come across another amateur player who's ever told me they've done that. 45 centuries. More about that later. He also scored the most runs for Retford Cricket Club in its entire 160 odd year history. He scored 29,000 runs. He was captain of the Notts Cricket Association. He represented the league on 8 occasions. His debut for Retford was the youngest recorded league debut in the history of the league. He made his debut at 9 years of age as a late substitute in a second team game in which I was playing. And I remember that game vividly. He played as a 9-year-old and he played in borrowed kit. He played in my sweater and some tracksuit bottoms. It could be the youngest debut in the league in England. You can't find that sort of fact out, but it can never be beaten because it wouldn't be allowed now. The ECB guidelines for playing senior cricket would just simply not allow a 9-year-old to play in a men's match. And finally, 1983, a little bit older, he was appointed the captain of Retford Cricket Club at 20 years of age, which made him the youngest captain in the history of the club. And just to give you a more modern picture, that's 1983. Nigel on the front row, next to the captain, John Cook. John Cook was injured, had to miss the whole of most of the season. Nigel took over as a 20-year-old captain, and I've sneaked in there on the back row. That's 1983. Nigel retired through an injury in 2009. So it was basically a physical injury which then stopped his career. So I hope you found some of those things interesting.
Yeah.
This is what my dad, JB, you've heard him talking about his career. This is what I found in my dad's autobiography, and I think it's worth reading to you. Nigel Hall was the best ever cricketer to play for Retford, judging him solely as a cricketer and not as his dad. He was the club's most distinguished performer. He had fantastic natural ability. When he was 9 and he made his debut as a last-minute replacement, the Daily Mail visited our house the following week. They took pictures of him and they wrote up an article about this extremely early start in league cricket. He hardly ever had a reason to look back. He established a league record of not missing a single Saturday match for 16 seasons. Like his brother Chris, he was a left-handed batsman and a right-arm bowler. And he had several star performances, which I've sort of given you already at his schools. His entry into second-team league cricket was as a young bowler with an excellent approach, a high action, and the ability to swing the ball. and he received great encouragement from his senior teammates and friends at Retford, which included Alan Bull, Keith Jackson, who's with us this morning, and in later years from his great friend Tim Jones. Excuse me. In 1979, as a 16-year-old boy, he bowled a spell of 7 for 48 against Steatley second 11 at Retford, just 1 week after his grandfather, Mike's dad, my granddad, JB, had passed away. And this famous photograph, it's one of the most amazing photographs in our collection, is of Nigel bowling to bowl 7 for 48 in a man's match. He's bowling in a black armband, and the Union Jack flag is at half mast for my granddad. The reason there's no pavilion is the pavilion burnt down the year before.
Yeah.
And all that was left was the flagpole and a couple of seats. In his early first team cricket with myself, that's my dad, Nigel learned quickly from our professionals like Peter Hacker and Kenny Watson. His confidence grew and he became an exceptional fielder. He dismissed scores of good players, and by the time he was 18, he was bowling more overs in the Bassetlaw League than any other bowler. His greatest achievement with the ball was against JB's old club, Worksop. Again, later in that season, he'd forced his way into the first team. His spell against Worksop was astonishing. It was 9 for 49 off 20 overs, then a league record. This was only his 7th first team game. It was the best performance by a Retford bowler since 1912. JB. JB would have been very proud. The Man of the Match award was given to Nigel, obviously, by Councillor Ted Mitchell of the Bassetlaw District Council. His friend in the background, who Keith knows terribly well, is the late Tim Jones, who passed away a few years later. He was probably one of the best players I've ever had the pleasure to play with. Yeah. I contacted Northamptonshire County Cricket Club to arrange for Nigel to play on trial in their second 11 against Middlesex and Lancashire, in which he did take 7 wickets and he blocked out Jack Simmons for 90 minutes to force a draw. But unfortunately, by this time, he'd unaccountably developed a suspect bowling action. And the county could not consider offering him a contract, even though they knew he'd got ability, with a doubt about a bowling action. And Keith, if I may say it to Keith, we don't know where that came from, Keith, do we? It just
No, not at all. No.
It just happened. He got when he tried to bowl the faster ball,
Yeah.
he got a bent elbow.
That's right. He first got no-balled in Bassetlaw by one of the Bassetlaw umpires from square leg for throwing.
Yeah.
And again, no idea where it came from. It just couldn't get rid of it. It was always there. So eventually he decided to concentrate on his batting, didn't he?
Quite right. Thank you, Keith.
Okay.
When as a family, we decided to leave Retford at the end of the 1983 season, we joined Milton, a nearby club. This problem became even more pronounced and Nigel bowled on fewer and fewer occasions, as you've heard from Keith. He did, however, have a sound batting technique, and with my coaching and his application in the nets, he became, over the next 3 seasons, Milton's leading batsman. He won Milton's batting averages in 1984. In 1986, he scored 4 centuries in the league, becoming the first player to do this in this division of Bassetlaw since limited overs cricket began back in 1968. Nigel played league cricket at Milton with me, Chris, and on Sundays at Clumber, also with Chris, for 3 seasons. He would eventually, like the rest of us, return to Retford in 1987 and he became the club's most successful batsman in its history. He scored his 32nd century in 2001. He hit his 41st century in 2004. And he finished his career after a severe hip injury, curtailed his performance as the second team captain with a total of 45 centuries. In the final season that he played in 2009, in the second team with myself, he scored 3 centuries. They were all not out. And I just thought I'd show you a picture of him sort of towards the end of his career. And he's leaving the field of play there. It looks as if he's got a hip injury there, doesn't he? He looks a bit strained. But he's got another 100. And can you see who's in the background? That's my dad. That's MJ Hall watching his son go off, having scored yet another century for Retford. It's quite an interesting photograph that somebody took and probably didn't even realise who was in the background. But that's a nice, happy photograph. Nigel won every trophy it's possible to win. And as a player, he won the Retford averages on numerous occasions. He was awarded Member of the Year. He was the first recipient of the Bassetlaw District Council Sportsman of the Year in 1997. And he was rightly made a club member by Retford. He was made a life member, I should say, in 2001. Nigel became chairman of the club, the cricket committee and the selection committee. And such was his command and knowledge of the game that in whatever capacity he functioned in, he was respected and admired for his sportsmanship, his determination, and his dedication to the club. They're my dad's words. So I'm pleased to share those with you. If I may, I'd just like now to give you some comments from myself. These are purely personal memories and recollections from playing with my brother from that game in 1972 until 2009. We played in the same teams all that time. We went on tour together, we played abroad, and we had a lot of fun. I was a member of the team that Nigel played his debut in as a 9-year-old, and I was also a member of the Retford team in his final league game in 2009. I played with Nigel in over 400 league and cup games, and I was his teammate in 5 senior teams, that being Retford Milton, EMEB, Clumber, and the Eric Broadbent 11. We played together in the Notts Premier League, the top divisions of the Bassetlaw League, on tour in Barbados at both football and cricket. We played in Amsterdam, we played in Northumbria, and we played in league fixtures and cup finals at Trent Bridge together. We had the honour to play in the same teams as our dad. We played with professionals such as Peter Hacker, Kenny Watson, and Franklin Stevenson, and we battled against other pros like Cairns, Mark Fell, Ian Blackwell, and Mike Bohr of Notts. Apart from the fun of playing in all that, I was amazed how many times we were partners on the field in some crucial batting or bowling situation. It was uncanny. I'm going to share a couple of them with you, if I may. We're in August 1985. We're playing Sunday cricket together for Clumber Park. We established a new 6th wicket record for the club with a partnership of 108. And the club gave us that trophy for that record partnership. And to my knowledge, it still stands as a record for the club. Nigel got 80. For Milton in 1986, we were playing at Blidworth together in the Bassetlaw League, and I scored my first century in a run chase, and we beat the league leaders. But when I got to 75, I did my hamstring and I needed a runner. And Nigel, who had earlier put 50 on with me, returned to do that job. And he was there at the end when I completed my first century. In the same year at Milton, Nigel and myself were involved in 7 partnerships of over 50, 3 of them being in successive games. Again for Milton, in the return game against Blidworth, who were still top of the league, Nigel opened the batting and he blasted 135, not out. But in reply, our tough opponents were well on for winning. And especially as the skipper surprisingly kept himself on, and he did not ask me to bowl at any stage. When I finally was given the ball, and I was absolutely furious, because we'd lost basically, I launched myself downwind at the Blidworth lineup, and I got 5 for 36. We drew the game, and I remember that as a partnership of a different kind. Nigel with the ball, with the bat, and me with the ball. Another memorable partnership with Nigel that season, that same season, was against local rivals North Wheatley. Together we added 167 runs for the second wicket. Nigel got another 126. And we reached a mammoth total of 271. I also recall that back in 1988, when we were back playing for Retford against Chesterfield, our undefeated partnership took Retford from 61 for 3 to the winning target of 127. And there were several more matches in which Nigel went to his century and I was the partner at the other end. Incredibly, I had been Nigel's partner for his own first century back in 1981. And on 7 other occasions, when he went to 3 figures, I was the bloke at the other end. It's the most times any other player was his partner when he got to 100. Nigel valued his wicket. He knew its importance to our opponents, and he was not out 27 times after reaching his 100. He could never be accused of throwing it away. His highest score was 184, and his highest first 11 score was 142. Knowing him as I do, he's probably most proud of his 2 centuries scored for Retford in the Nottinghamshire Premier League. He got 100 not out in 2004 against Kimberley and 103 not out in 2005 against Welbeck. And I say that because that is the highest standard of cricket that an amateur can play, apart from going off and playing somewhere else professionally.
Yeah, Chris,
Yes.
just, you 9.5 minutes left.
How many?
9.5.
Okay. That's a picture of Nigel scoring his 100 in the Premier League against Welbeck in 2005. It was scored off the last ball of Retford's innings. He was on 99, and he slammed that ball to the cover boundary line for 4 and went to his 100. And that was the last time that he scored 100 in the first team. I know that when Nigel captained our family's great friend Franklin Stevenson of Notts and Barbados in 2 Basketball League games for Retford as our pro in 1988, it was amongst his most happy of all of his memories. We met Franklin in 1984. He was the leading wicket taker in first-class cricket. He was a supreme all-rounder. Probably the greatest never to play for the West Indies. But my dad, knowing him as well as he did, signed him up as a pro when he was at Notts, so that if there were any Saturdays he wasn't playing for Notts, we'd put him into the Retford team. On a rain-affected wicket, we played Welbeck, the current year's league champions, and we were bowled out for 85. Franklin top scored with 28, and I had a little partnership with him as well, which was a lovely memory for me. At the tea interval, he sat in the dressing room, I remember it vividly, and he just looked at everyone and he said, "Man, we will win." And he bowled Retford to victory with 5 for 30. And Welbeck got 78 all out. It was a privilege to have been on the same field as Franklin. And it was one of the best days. Just editing a bit. In 1996, Retford were champions of the Bassetlaw League. I know how proud Nigel is of that team. It was unbeaten. It had 18 victories, and a record number of points. Even more significantly, Retford won 11 games out of 11 at home. In the anniversary programme, I wrote this. Even these impressive facts do not do justice to this group of only 14 dedicated players under Nigel's expert captaincy. Finally, 2009, Retford played in the Harry Tomlins final. The game was pre-arranged to be at Retford, so we got to the final, we played, and Nigel was already retired really from first 11 cricket, but he did play in that final, and Retford won. It was the 5th time in the history of the club that we'd won the cup. The amazing thing there was that in that year, my dad was president of the Bassetlaw League, and it was his job to give the medals out at the end of the match. And so that picture is of the team, Nigel in the team. And then at the end of the game, you can see that there's my dad, and he's handing out a medal to his own son who's just won the cup. Amazing thing. We had a tribute night for Nigel at the ground, the only one that I can see where there's ever been given to a player. And he received tributes from the world of cricket, including people like Strauss, Gower, Holding, all sorts of people that he knew. But the one I'm going to show you is from the chairman of England selectors at the time, which is Jeff Miller, played for Derbyshire, played for Chesterfield, played against Retford. And I'm going to read you it. And if I've got 1 minute, Keith, it's just a few seconds. I'll read you what it says to Nigel Hall. It says, "Sorry to hear of your enforced retirement. Comes to us all eventually. You've given great loyal service to Retford Cricket Club, and you should feel proud of your efforts. Yours in sport, Jeff Miller." My final comment, guys, is Nigel was indeed a very special cricketer. He was one of, if not the best amateur players I've ever seen or played with. I was proud to have shared in so many matches and so many triumphs over his very long and illustrious career. Thank you.
All right, brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Chris.
Brilliant.
There'll be one last episode. Me and Chris are going to discuss it. We're just going to do a bit about Chris himself, but I'm not quite sure when we're going to do that, but we're going to do that.
It won't take long.
Modest. Right. So we've got 4 minutes. So any more quiz questions, John?
Is Long not going to
Can I
talk
just
about football?
Can I just interrupt, John?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's worth saying, and I hope you don't mind me saying so, Keith, it's very difficult for somebody like Chris to speak about people with whom he's played because he's such a self-effacing bloke, as I've since found out. And I think he very much hides his own light under a bushel. And he eulogizes his granddad, his father and his brother. But I rather suspect we've got quite a bit of a story yet to come. Chris, on my behalf, and I'm sure others share it, it's a fabulous set of stories. Thank you so much for sharing it.
I agree, Ian. Yeah,
absolutely.
Dead right, Ian.
Very kind of you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Right, Lol. You've got 2
Well,
minutes.
how many of these lads here today are going tomorrow? Because I can do the news there tomorrow.
There's 9 of us.
Huh?
9 of us
That's here now.
now.
Yes.
Yeah, the football news
I'll
tomorrow.
carry that over till tomorrow then, shall I?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
okay.
idea. Good idea,
Right.
Lon. And for
Right,
those
John.
of us who are here who are going to be there tomorrow, can you behave yourselves, please? Yeah, settle down. Just settle down.
I mentioned one thing today while others are here. I don't know whether you've heard, but Russia have said that VAR officials may have to take a lie detector test in order to ensure all decisions are fairly made. Anybody else seen that or heard of it? That was on the news last week.
What, the same one that they give to Donald Trump, is it?
I'm Putin.
Yeah, and Putin, yeah. What was the original name for the Commonwealth Games?
The
Empire
Games.
Games.
The Empire Games.
The British Empire Games.
Oh, right.
Yeah, yes.
No, the Empire Game. Come on.
What did USA football goalkeeper Brianna Scurry do in 1996 after her Olympic team won gold?
Took a top off.
Even better than that.
The bottom off.
Did a
Took his
streak.
Yes.
shorts off.
She ran naked through the streets of Athens.
Oh.
Did anybody notice?
Only me copying United's Willie Falk.
Oh yeah, Billy. Yeah. Who is the only man to have won the World Cup twice as a manager?
Beckenbauer.
Helmet showing.
No.
Roy the Rovers.
Vittorio Pozzo.
All right.
Ben Wesley was killed by his 12-year-old son at Fox Hill, Los Angeles in October 1927 after trying to teach him which sport?
Shooting.
Rifle shooting. Nah, too obvious.
Frisbee.
Pole vault.
Bullet catching.
Golf. Golf.
Golf.
Go.
Yeah.
Golf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, John.
Right.
I'm sorry, we'll have to wrap you up at that with less than 30 seconds. So, thanks everybody.
Thanks, Keith.
All, see some
See you
of you
tomorrow.
tomorrow. See you all
Have a
next
good
week.
meeting tomorrow.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good one.
Thank you.